I'm making bubble bangles. Now, bubble bangles are a very organic, kind of fun bangle that I make with basically bubble-shaped loops, of course in a circle, with little 3mm round beads inside. It's still a very, very organic look. They do get kind of crazy looking after you wear them some, but I think that's kind of the fun of them. A lot of people have been asking about these, and so I decided that I was going to show you how to make them today. So I got started already, because the thing about the bubble bangles, and the reason why I haven't done it, the reason why I've been so hesitant, is because it just takes time for me to make these. It's not like something I can just whip out in 5 seconds. I have to actually make the base, and this is the base already started. I actually have to make 44 of these little loops individually by hand in a straight line in order to make a medium-sized bangle. I basically started this, and I started with 5 feet of 20 gauge brass wire on this particular project, and it was too much. I did not need 5 feet. About 3.5 feet is plenty, but I couldn't remember when I was getting started today, so I always cut more than I need to make sure that I don't run out. And what you do is you basically just take your bail shaping pliers. Since we're working with 3mm beads, I'm using a little 3mm bail shaping plier right there, and it needs to be round because the beads we're using are round. You can of course modify this and do it however you want to, but this is just if you're trying to do exactly what I'm doing, then do what I say, right? Not what I do. Okay, here we go. So I always just in order to get each bubble in line, you actually need to actually place the plier inside the bubble before it, in line with the one. Let's see, make sure I got that on there right before it. So if you just place that in line, it really helps me to get these lined up. And then you just kind of wrap that wire. Now this is 20 gauge wire. I am using the jeweler's brass because it's my personal favorite, that bare gold or jeweler's brass wire, whichever you want to call it. Parawire tends to call it a couple different things, but that's where I get that. And you're going to wrap all the way around to the other side. So you can see how now it's coming out of the side right there. That's very important that you go all the way around, or it can be really hard to stack these up straight. Now you can see kind of down here, I got a couple kind of out of line, and that just annoys me to no end that I did. But unless you go slow, you're going to have some out of line. But even if you go meticulously, you know, perfectly, and don't make any mistakes as you go, you're still going to have some out of line. So remember, they're bubbles. Bubbles like to be free. They do not have to be perfect, okay? So then you're just going to keep going. That is my 41st circle, and so this one's going to be a 42nd. And so I just I'm putting the little one in there. I'm holding it nice and tight, and then you're taking the wire. Just make sure you're wrapping that wire around and pushing it around that barrel, because if you do not, it's going to leave a little extra space, and then it's not going to look as pretty. So we're going to go all the way around, and remember, I went all the way around and all the way back to the side. Sorry, it keeps flipping around on me. Since I've gotten so far on this one, it just gets a little crazy. All right, so just like that. So see how it kind of sits right next to the other one? We do have a little hammering to do on the rest of this. I've already hammered the first half of it. I am going to be hammering this just a little bit to kind of finish things up and line them up a little bit. That should be my 42nd loop, and this should be my 43rd. I'm actually going to make an extra one, extra couple, because I'm going to be overlapping these. So this is going to be, what did I say? Is this 43? Yeah, 43. All right, 43. And just kind of pull those around. You see I'm being a little bit mean to my wire. You do have to be the boss of your wire, or else the wire will be the boss of you, and you don't need that. Just kind of work them into place right there. And then next one is 44. I'll turn that towards you so you can kind of see what's happening here. I did cut way too much wire, so even 3.5 feet is going to be too much. The thing is, if you run out, you're going to be so mad at yourself. So don't cut less than 3 the first time you do this, because cutting too short of a wire is just terrible. It's the worst. Very frustrating to get to the end of a project and realize you didn't cut yourself enough wire, and wire is cheap. So then I'm gonna do 44, and then I'm gonna do 2 extemporaneous loops. Okay, so 44, wrapping it around, Get my little guy out of the way there. And around like so, like this. Did you guys, I can't work off the spool to do this. It just, the spool gets in my way. Everybody's saying, work off the spool. Yeah, no. I tried it and it just, my bubbles end up going like really bonkers. I don't mind my bubbles being a little bubbly, but I don't want them to be like total weirdo bubbles. So I was not able to do that on this one. Alrighty then, and then so that's 44. So that's how long this is going to be for a medium-sized bangle for Susan Thomas, who wears a medium-sized bangle. Then I'm going to do 2 more because we're going to overlap the last 2 of these. So get that guy like that, and then this little guy here like this. So this is my last bubble. I'm just going to bring him around like so. Don't overlap that last one because it's going to be overlapped with another one anyway. Okay, so clip that off. So now I haven't done any hammering on this part. So you can see it's kind of messier, but this part, see, that's my beginning part. What you're going to do now is this last little bit has not been hammered. So I'm going to pop this onto my bench block, and I'm going to just kind of give this a quick little hammer like so. Flattening it, not hard. It's not, I'm very, very just barely hammering this, okay? I am not going crazy with it. And then I'm just kind of coming from the side here. This just kind of lines them up a little bit where maybe you didn't quite get them in line. You see, am I like going crazy? No, I'm not. I'm just barely just tapping on this to kind of line these little babies up. Like so. And it should be kind of straight. See how it's straightening it out? Isn't that amazing? This is amazing. I think it's amazing. All right, well, all right. Glad you guys think it's amazing too. Okay, so, so funny. Okay, I entertain myself. It's what you have to do in life. I tell you, if you don't entertain yourself, you can't really depend on anybody else to do it. So, how did I start the very beginning of the strand? Okay, let me show you how I did that. So let's just pretend like this is a long strand, all right? So I've got this, I've flush cut my little end right here, okay? So what you're gonna do is you're just gonna take this. All right, and then Myra got confused when I start and stop the next bubble. So let's just start one. Okay, I'll start the very beginning. So you're gonna go all the way around into a loop like so. Okay, so that's my first loop. Then you're going to, and that's my first loop. I'm gonna hold it this way because I want the wire coming out of the side of the loop. Okay, so see how it's coming out of the side? Then I'm gonna take the small barrel and put it through that loop. Now that's not the one that fits in there. I'm making this size. Okay, that's just the holder. Then I'm holding tight and wrapping the next wire up and around the barrel. Now that's making a half of my loop. I'll take it off so you guys can see, since you guys are a little confused. Let me just pull that off. Okay, see how it's a half a loop? Then I'm just replacing this in here in a way that I'm able to actually wrap it around and finishing the loop. And you go all the way out till it comes out the side again, see? So those are my first 2 loops. Then you're gonna take that small barrel, put it back in. That's like a little placeholder, okay? In the next one. And then you're going to wrap it around the next one. Okay, then pull it back off. See, I've got a half a loop. See that? And then you're just going to replace that in there and pull it all the way in around that loop and then come all the way over until it comes out the other side. So I've got a few of these green beads already strung on too. I'm going to start wrapping right here. So I'm not starting at the first, let me give myself a little bit extra wire there, bubble, because I want that first bubble to actually be free. I'm going to keep the first and second bubbles free so I can overlap at the end. That's one of the things I didn't do when I first started this, was I didn't leave those first 2 bubbles free, and so it was hard to overlap at the end to make it really sturdy. But you're just going to wrap the wire around a couple times, and I am now using 28 gauge wire, and yes, it's very long and I'm very sorry, but I wasn't sure how much I was going to need, so I've got a lot here. All right, and so then as you're coming around, of course I wrapped the wrong direction, so let me go the other way. I want to come up and over. So let's go like that, because it'll be easier to show you. Not that it matters which direction you wrap, it's easier if I'm going towards you guys. Okay, so here we are. I don't know where the camera is, but there we are. All right, so you're gonna take a bead, you're gonna pop it into a bubble, and then you're gonna wrap between the bubbles one time. So see that? Bead and bubble, wrap one time between the bubbles. Then your wire's coming up there. You're gonna bring down another bead. You're gonna place said bead into the bubble. So pop them in the bubble. I feel like the camera is just not with me, Shane. I don't know what's going on, but I just don't feel like it's in there. There we go. So pop them into the bubble. All right, so now it's in the bubble, and then we're gonna go around just one time. You don't have to go crazy, like so. And so the next thing, what you're gonna do, you're gonna take a bead, and you're gonna pop them inside of a bubble. Not three, just one. Just one bead, pop them into the bubble, and wrap. Like so. And then next bead, pop them into a bubble, and wrap. So see how it's kind of going along? And you want your beads to kind of fit into those bubbles a little bit. You don't want them sticking out too far, because if they're sticking out too far, it just doesn't look as good, and it isn't as sturdy. So it's kind of go around. If you want to, you can go a couple times between each bubble. Up to you. It would make it a little bit sturdier probably. Now we're to the hard thing. This is as many beads as I strung. So now what I have to do, oh no, there's one more. I'm so lucky. I have one more. Here we go. All right, so I probably have too much wire here. I always err on the side of too much wire when I'm not sure how much wire to use, because I would just be very sad if I ran out before I finished. Okay, so now pop a bead into the bubble. And this is the part that I think is kind of fun, is just adding all of the beads into the bubbles. Now you can go multicolor. I've done these with tourmaline. I've done them with amethyst. I've done it with labradorite, and as you go, you can kind of straighten. If there's something that, like the end here where I was not paying any attention, where it got a little bit crooked, I can kind of straighten these up just a little bit. But now I need to string these beads, and this is what I want. This is what I'm going to prove that Shavam's beads are well drilled. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off about 5 or 6 beads. I'm going to get my 28 gauge wire, and I am going to string them on to the wire all at the same time. See that? Here's the deal, folks. I cannot see. So I don't see holes anymore really in beads. It's just, they're not there. I don't know. Anyway, so it's really important to me that my smaller beads are drilled really, really well. So I am very dependent on people like Shavam to give me these awesome strands of beads that are strung like this, because I mean, you know, it's not like we have time to sit here and wait for me to string 44 green beads onto this string. I'm stringing 6 at a time. See that? These are incredibly well drilled beads, and my wire's not even streaked. So I mean, that's a really big deal. I don't even have a straight wire on there. So that was 5 more. So 5, 10, 15, 20. Let's do 6 more right here. And like if your wire is straight, it's even easier to do it. And like my wire's all crooked, like I got 6 more. And so I'm getting all these on here. And this is a lot faster than waiting for me to string each bead at once. And also faster than waiting for me to find the holes, okay? So you guys don't need me finding the holes in these beads. And the way I find the hole is what I do when I pull off, say I pull off 5 like this. Well, I know that it's between those 2 fingers. See what I mean? So I just go aim right towards the center of those 2 fingers, and voila, they're on. So now this is the fun part of the project. We're just going to pop bubbles in and wrap them in place. So you just pop them in and you wrap them in place. So it's pop a bubble, wrap around, pop a bubble, wrap around, and pop a bubble, wrap around, and pop a bubble, wrap around. So this is kind of like the easy part. Once you get your bubbles actually made, all you have to do is just place the bubbles into. So your time is going to be spent in making bubbles and possibly stringing your beads. However, as you noticed with Shavam's green onyx beads, I didn't have to spend too much time because they were so beautifully drilled. So the quality is there, not just in the stone, but also in the care that they take with the beads. So I like that. Let's see. 2 more down. So I'm just popping a bead, wrapping it in place, popping a bead. And you're always going over, so that it just kind of works a little bit better. So here we go to the next one. As soon as I get down to these last 2 is when, well, I strung way too many beads. How fast was that too? Look at all those extra beads I have. Okay, so now I'm to the last two. Okay, so I've got my last two there. Remember, I had those first two at the beginning. So we're gonna go back to the, ooh, isn't that pretty with the green and the gold? Very nice. Ooh. Okay, so I am now going to keep 2 beads on here, and I am going to clip off the rest of them because I don't need them. I'm just getting rid of them there. All right, so let me give myself a little ender here so I don't lose any beads while I'm doing this next part. All right, so this needs to come into a bangle shape. And you've got an outside, you've got an inside. Your inside is going to be the side that you see more gold. Your outside is going to be the side that you see more bead, okay? So when you're working on this, and some people like them inside out, so don't feel like you can't do it, you know, a different way than what I'm talking about. But, oh, look at that. Okay, so I'm gonna get my bracelet mandrel because I just think this is an easier way to do this. And I'm going to start wrapping this around, and I'm using the smallest part because these are springy, okay? They're very, very springy as you're working with them, and so it'll kind of pop. See how it's popping back out as I do that? So I'm just kind of using that, and I'm just using it to kind of shape my bangle into a bangle shape, like so. And it's gonna, you're probably gonna have to keep working it just a little bit. And you'll have to do a little bit of hammering too. All right, so then I'm going to, remember where I started right here? I'm gonna trim off that 28 gauge wire. Just get rid of that underneath and then squish it in so that you can't find it. I usually do that with a knot light so I can see where the wire goes, because otherwise it just bothers me forever. And then these two and these two are going to overlap. So see those guys right there? They're actually going to overlap each other, and you really need to do 2. If you try to do it with just 1, I have found that it's not a sturdy enough connection, so you absolutely need to do 2 of them. Okay, so now my next bead, and this is kind of a little bit harder, obviously, but what you're going to do is kind of come and put that in that guy right there. Stay. And then bring this, okay, let me hold him. He is giving me fits. It's hard to hold and talk and do at the same time. Here we go, around, underneath, right there. And I'm gonna come back through this here in just a second, but you wanna wrap 2 times there. And then I've got those last 2 guys overlapped right there. Make sure I pull that tight. There we go. It's not cooperating with me. And then 1 more bead goes in this guy right here, up and over, like so, and then wrap tightly there and there, so that you have a good connection, a good solid connection. And then I'm going to actually kind of weave this back through. Oops, well, it helps if I take off my little weird end right there. And I cut myself about 3 feet of 28 gauge wire, if you're wondering how much I had, and it was too much. I cut off about 1 foot there just a second ago, so probably about 2 feet is enough. So I'm just gonna reinforce this little segment here by going back through it and tightening everything up, like so, and then wrapping between, and then coming back over here. And I'm actually gonna go through, I know you guys can't see me because we're looking at something weird there. We're actually gonna go back through both of those loops. Like that. Oh, I had it. Little brats. There we go, back up through there. Basically just kind of reinforcing this, almost sewing it together. Right there, and then wrapping a couple times on this side, and then I'm gonna go back 1 more time, 1, 2, and then just to finish it, I'm gonna wrap, like so. And so that kind of finishes it off there. And it's a little bit bulky where the connection is, but I think it's worth it because honestly, the first few I made, where it connected, it was just driving me absolutely bonkers when I was having trouble with that little piece kind of slipping back and forth. And when you go like this and put this down onto your bracelet mandrel, and I'm not going to use that hammer. I'm actually going to use this hammer and just give it, especially right there where I connected it, a little bit of love with my Rawhide Mallet, just to kind of get everybody in line. And this will also harden up your wire and harden up your connections. And then I'm going to pull it off, and I'm going to bring it back down. And when I first make these look just really just, oh wow, they're so perfect. But then after you wear them a few times, they don't look like that anymore. So, but I think that's one of the beauties of this particular design, is that they're very organic and very fun. And so then you've got that really fun little bright green bangle. And to me, I like to wear them. You can back up just a little bit, Shane, because I'm going to put them on. I like to wear them together. So, you know, I just kind of bring them, put them on, and let them kind of be a little fun and crazy and bubbly, like so. So you just wear like a bunch of them together. So there, ta-da! Like that. Pretty cute, right? I mean, I think they're fun, they're organic, and I know a lot of you guys have been wanting to know how to do that. So that's how I do it. Bubble bangles.